Hi guys, I wrote a story for all my friends that are having trouble sleeping. It's called The Harvest Moon Goes Hunting. My son's holding up the book and I might have to pause it every now and then, but just bear with me. It only goes for a few minutes. Okay? You ready, Bubba? Here we go. Just hold it like that. Okay. It's dark here too, so my eyes are a bit dodgy. Okay. Bee of the meadow heard a loud knock. It made her jump. It made her realise she'd fallen asleep. Time to head out, she said to herself. It had been a long night, a quiet night. No one was out. Everyone was locked inside, hiding from karma, for tonight was the night the harvest moon weighed the souls of all the land. People were afraid of how heavy their souls weighed on the scales, and so to avoid karma, they avoided the night sky, for the moon tells karma everyone's secrets. Bee of the meadow was a fairy. She wasn't just any fairy, she was an enchanted fairy. She could see everything in the shadows, because she was a subterranean fairy. This means she came from people that belonged to the underground. The grass, the flowers, the crops, the trees, all came about because of her people. Her people were as old as the land beneath her feet. As Bee locked up and began to head out, she got hit by a blast of cold air. Autumn was here, and she wished she had bought a shawl to cover her wings. They were tiny on her back, considering she was a tall woman by outward appearances. Her skin was so pale because the sun doesn't reach the subterranean landscape she grew up in. Bee's town was ancient, the streets cobbled, paved and worn from centuries of history using its pathways to complete their journey. The buildings so crooked they defied logic as to how they were still standing. In the distance she could hear movement. She could hear a pin drop, yet she heard feet shuffle towards her. She braced herself and moved her hand to her thigh, where hidden under her skirt she had behind a lace garter a dagger made from the claw of a dragon with a unicorn's horn for a handle. "Hey, how would you like to live forever?" the voice asked. "Who goes there?" she replied. "I demand you show yourself." With that, out of the shadows came a goblet, a half-goblin, half-witch. "If you come with me, I can make you live forever." "No, thank you," she said, and off she went. A few streets down she passes a unicorn who just smiles and nods before walking by. She could hear people closing their shutters and doors, latching them tight, with every step she took heading towards her destination. Again she heard footsteps come towards her. She reached for her dagger. "Who goes there?" she said. "Show yourself." And out stepped a Wigglow, a demon-like rabbit that could grant wishes like a genie, but for a deadly cost. "Come with me and I'll make you rich and beautiful, and all the men in all the land will want you," she said to Bee. "No, thank you," Bee said, and off she walked. She could see her destination just up ahead, and all she had to do was keep her head up and not look back. Soon she would be home, and she could forget about this night. An owl hoots. "Hoot, hoo!" Bee stops dead in her tracks, her hair standing on end. She looked to her left, and sitting in a chair soaking up the moon's glow was a sidlow, a 30-foot snake-like reptile that had wings on its back. His tiny wire-framed glasses gleamed in the moonlight. As she was about to turn and speak, he dropped his book and slid like a snake into the night sky, as if to avoid her. And then she heard a childlike voice. "Who goes there? Speak up. I have no eyes to see who approaches." Bee looked down and saw a small, angelic-looking child. "Don't be afraid of me, child," she said. "I'm just a fairy." "I'm not afraid," replied the child. "But these streets aren't safe, so you really should be careful on your journey home." "Ha! It's funny, I was about to say the same thing to you," Bee said to the child. "But don't worry, little one," she said. "I'm heading home now." "Good," replied the child. "And whatever you do, don't look back." "I won't," Bee said. "I won't look back." She kept walking. The closer she got to her front door, the more she became aware of the fact that she could hear screams in the distance. Karma was knocking, and souls were being collected. Her blood ran cold, and as she got to her door, she frantically tried to open it, but it was locked. Her heart pounding, afraid to look at what was behind her. She began to bang on the door to wake someone up in the cottage to let her in. Suddenly she woke up with a jolt, awake by the knock at the door. As she opened her eyes, there before her were the souls of the beasts that had approached her on the street, disappearing before her eyes, the essence of their life force dripping from her dagger hidden under her garter. But it wasn't a garter at all. It was a tattoo, an incantation to be precise, which read, "Speak to Karma and be thy judged, upon the scales you go, and if their hearts weigh more than light, then they reap what they shall sow."